I'm Josh Cooperman, and this is Convo by Design with a group of exceptional designers from our Day of Design gathering at Design Hardware in Los Angeles in May 2024. I think designers and architects provide a service that simply cannot be measured in terms of dollars and cents, especially in an era of fast content, social media perspective that creates a social dysmorphia. We have all become so inextricably tied to the internet and social media that it is truly difficult to differentiate reality from make-believe. The following conversations feature designers who met with me at Design Hardware in Los Angeles for a day of creative thinking and sharing of dynamic design ideas that are basically shaping the way we design in 2024. I found that if you gather creative types and provide the platform for them to showcase their individual approach to the way they work, some universal concepts begin to form, and you have the opportunity to really see what makes these individuals, these people, so special. The reason skilled designers can do what they do is because they possess the ability to, silence the noise and focus in on the true needs and desires of their clients. This is how they do it, and you're going to hear all about it right after this. I am just incredibly proud of this partnership I've got with Thermosol. They have been presenting partners of Convo by Design going on 5 years now, and there is a certain amount of pride that comes with saying that the show is presented by the company that is the best in the world at what they do. Thermosol engineers the most exceptional smart shower products and steam shower systems worldwide, full stop. And it's for a few reasons. First of all, they were the first company to design and patent the technology here in the United States, dating back to 1958. Thermosol, a US-based manufacturer based in Round Rock, Texas, employs an engineering team that designs, tests, and continuously refines the product. Their quality control team tests every single steam generator before it departs the factory. Who else does that? Nobody that I know of. I have the pleasure of working with some world-class designers and architects who tell me, and if you're in the business, you know this, that the idea of luxury has changed, especially when clients want a spa-like bathroom. Steam is mandatory, or it's just not considered a luxury. And if you want to add steam, you have only one true option, my opinion, and that's Thermosol. Mitch Altman, third generation CEO of this family-owned company of 65 years, continues to innovate in the bathroom and shower space through technological marvels such as intelligent showering systems, sound therapy, aromatherapy, technical interfaces, and so much more. And now Thermosol, the industry leader in steam bath equipment and technology since 1958, as I mentioned, is enhancing its already stellar family of products with the new indoor and outdoor luxury saunas available in 3 designs. The configurations are absolutely amazing, and you should probably go check them out. Indoor and outdoor options. It's amazing. You really do need to check them out. Go to thermosol.com or at Thermosol on the socials.
Hi, my name is Leticia Ellis Haywood. I am an interior designer out of Houston, Texas, and my name of my company is Leticia Ellis Haywood Interiors.
So you are one of these really interesting, amazing creatives who kind of launched your own platform at the worst possible time.
Indeed.
Or so you thought.
I've never been busier, and the momentum has always increased. So yes, it was a bad time, but not really, because I was starting from zero, no place to go but up.
It was the best of times.
It was the worst of times. It was. Indeed it was. But honestly, it kept things in perspective because there was a lot of things going on during that time. However, people just felt the need of wanting to, maintain their sense of home and place. And so that was a perfect timing to just come in and help with renovations. That was the bulk of when I got started. Renovations, people wanted to bring new life into spaces they've been sitting in because they had no place to go.
Well, it's interesting too, and I have spoken with creatives who started during the financial crisis, Great Recession. I have started with those who started during other times of turmoil.
Yeah.
Here's what's interesting. When you had all this experience, but when you finally hung your own shingle, you got to redefine the manner in which you wanted to work, live, and design.
Yes, absolutely. Just setting the tone on clients, who to take on, when I should take them on, just making sure I brought the best of myself every time. And it was nice because it started off slow. And I'm thinking, okay, this is a great pace. Famous last words. Now I have 2 associate designers and close to 18 projects going on in a given moment. And so things went from what I call 0 to 100 quickly. But it's all a huge, huge blessing, I feel. And then 2, not only did the pandemic happen, of course, that was obvious, but then the ice storm in Houston happened. And that was probably the next big thing that just sent everyone, like the whole industry, into a firestorm, it feels like it.
And what's interesting too is, and talk to me about this, because we talk about pain points in the space. And you mentioned the ice storm in Houston.
Yes.
But there's also the grid issue.
Yes.
And so as we get into an environment where, in the kitchen, for example, going with induction over gas, perhaps, in the garage, going with a charging station for the EV, it has to change the way in which you design and the way that you think about the work, because the infrastructure is changing. How does that affect you?
So during that time, it became evident. Everyone wanted to put in a generator to make sure they stayed up and running when things went down. And so making the accommodations for that, the space where they can locate. So that became a big deal. Yes, the charging. And even to the gas, for example. I had a gas stove. I was able to cook during when the grid was down. I had a gas fireplace, right? Just thinking about those who didn't. So yeah, it became quite a point. Like, this is the top things that we need. It wasn't necessarily, oh, I want this. So it was like, no, we need these things. And so yeah, it reframed everything. And also too, a lot of our clients are preparing for their elderly parents and aging in place, because they also wanted to make sure that during those tough times, they were also being taken care of. So it also pivoted to us to start doing more in-law living and parent living. It was very interesting to see that pivot too.
What are clients asking you for that they perhaps were not asking you for prior to this?
Okay. They are asking for a place for their family, as far as like their extended family, their moms and their parents, and them coming to stay. So that's been a number one. We have so many homes right now that are having apartments within their homes. And of course, it's Houston, it's larger, right? A ton of catering kitchens, second kitchens. Which has been surprising, because, they want the main kitchen to be, but they know that they need that catering kitchen to, to hide in the back and do all of the heavy lifting. That's been really interesting to see. And funny enough, I don't know if this sounds good or bad, but we've been working with clients where every floor has a bar. I mean, the first floor, the second floor, the third floor, they all have a different purpose, but they want that in-home lounge feeling, which has been very interesting too.
Wet bar, dry bar, both?
Both.
Yeah.
Both. Yeah.
It's funny you mention that, because it's really interesting. Both the multiple kitchen environment and the bar. Like, if you look at what designers post online, if you're looking at Instagram and you're following the feed, and you kind of go pre-pandemic, you didn't see alcohol bottles. You really didn't.
It was hidden away. People didn't really want to display. And if they did, it was maybe a couple of bottles here and there. And it was very strategic. And honestly, probably staged for the photography. No, people are just like, no, this is, we have our friends over, they're entertaining more, they're having dinner. And so the bar has become very much a meeting place for family and friends.
In Houston, in particular, it's funny. I'm drawing a blank on who the architect was that told me this. I'm going to have to go back and listen to the past episode. But he had an outdoor kitchen that they had designed in Houston, which was the first time I ever heard of an architect who air conditioned an outdoor kitchen. And that's not uncommon anymore.
No, closed in patios are big. Let's be real. It is hot in Houston. Our summer last year was record breaking. 100+ days, weeks in a row. No, it's torture, but people don't want to be stuck inside, right? We're a very, very conditioned group, meaning we need the AC, but they want to then enjoy the outdoors. So screened in porches became popular. People are adding in the retractable screens or the closed in, situation where it is air conditioned because, why not? If you can do it, then do it. But yeah, and then of course pools, like we're coming back in where, for example, worked on a renovation 2 years ago, and now we're in phase 2 where we're doing the pool bathroom, and then the garage apartment that's attached. But it came later. But pool is probably a must. It's pretty hot here in Houston, so.
And it's interesting too because look, let's be honest about this as well. People are tired of talking about the pandemic.
They are, yes.
You don't want to talk about it, and I totally get it. At the same time, if you look back, and nobody was here for the Spanish flu in 1921,
Yeah.
but subway tile came out of that. Linoleum
Yeah.
came out of that. There used to be porous wood cabinetry in bathrooms until then, and that started the trend away from that, and then that led into this new Art Deco movement, and then that Art Deco movement led into the modern movement, and then modern made mid-century modern. And I feel like designers who are working today, like you, you're working in a golden age of design. Some people don't realize it, but because of the pandemic, we've kind of gotten away from just beautiful things to form and function and individuality again, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of, you mentioned linoleum. I don't know how many times we've talked about with clients, we're putting in vinyl wood look flooring because they have family, pets, they want the look, they don't want the tile, but they want the durability. And they have pools. They don't want to be afraid of, oh my goodness, something's going to get messed up. And so a lot of, okay, but how does it function? And so we have to be well informed to say, okay, this is after observing and working with you, we know that you care about these things. You want the function. Let's talk about the function behind why behind why we're bringing these items to you. So yeah, you're 100% right.
In addition to that, now you've also got this, which is really unique. You've got these products and these companies and these showrooms. So like, for example, I work with a product called TimberTech, right? Which is, it's manufactured wood.
For decks, right?
For decks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's what's so cool is, years ago, even today, some people's like, oh, I don't want that plasticky look. It's not like that anymore.
No. The technology has improved so much for us as, in Houston with the humidity, right? And just the wear and tear on things. We do that kind of material all the time on decks because people, want to be able to step out comfortably on something. They don't want the maintenance, okay? And then on top of that, it looks good all the time. Easy to clean, things of that. So people want the ease and the care. They don't want to think about it. They just want to use it and have it last.
And then there's the relationship that you have to have with your partners, your showroom partners,
Yes.
your manufacturing partners.
Absolutely.
And I want to say that that's changed a lot too. I mean, that's kind of been a game changer in the industry. How have you managed that process?
So keeping in touch and the communication has always been paramount to me because it's all about relations. Getting in front of our vendors, specifying their goods, if there's something educational that comes up and they invite us to the showrooms, we're supporting. And so I feel like, to me, that's why I come to LA. I have some, building relationships with some of the showrooms here, and widening, like giving that wide network. But no, it's building the trust, because knowing that they back their items that they're selling to you, and they're going to fix it. They're going to do what needs to be done to make sure everything gets done right. So no, I feel like that's extremely important to have that relationship, and just not in all facets of design, between, hardware providers, wood flooring, your artisans, your local artisans, your fabric houses, everything. It's important.
Has your creative style, and it's funny because I've said this for years, I don't believe that good architects and designers have styles that they like, because at the end of the day, it's about your client's style. It doesn't really matter what you like.
Exactly, and that's my mantra.
But I do believe
Yes.
that every great creative has a fingerprint and a DNA that is within the manner in which, the style in which they work. Do you have that, and what do you think are some of those key elements to how you work and how you design?
So I've always had this. I always say a mark of a great designer or architect is you can do any style, and any design. You just nailed it on the head. I'm like, oh my gosh, we think the same. But with me, I believe what our firm tries to convey is it timeless? Is it classic? Does it have that refined point of view? Because you can do a modern space refined, you can do mid-century modern, so that's been tailored. I feel like that's been the true marks of the design that I do and my team does. And so we all speak that cohesive language, extremely important, because I feel like when people see our work, while it's different and diverse, it still looks very put together, tailored, and just very, very refined. So that's our point of view, my point of view.
How many projects do you work on a year?
A year. Okay, let me think about this.
And has going virtual enabled you to change the way you work so that you can be more productive and more efficient?
So how many projects we have going on right now in a year? I would say we'll complete maybe 5 to 7 projects within a year, but we have projects concurrently going on, so that number is a little bit higher. But our goal is to stay within that number, because we're trying to, of course, give our clients the best of us in our design. And yes, virtual has completely it's a game changer, because right now, I have a project in Miami Beach, I have a project in Atlanta, I had a project here in the Hollywood Hills. And so to me, having that touch point, and even just with our clients who are in town and that just are not able to meet, and we're having Zoom meetings alongside of our actual meetings with a partner in our studio space. It's just given us the flexibility to where the communication, there shouldn't be a lack of communication. It's very, very much like you're face forward, you're reviewing everything in front of you. It's kind of made things a little bit easier. It's still tough in a sense, because you're trying to convey something that is visually in front of, like, in tactile, but that's why you ship a box of samples to that person, and then you're going through the process together. So it's easy, but it has some of its moments and pain points, but it's made us doing work all over easier for sure.
Last question for you. So I've started this, after years and years of doing this, I have come to a conclusion.
Okay.
And I used to ask creatives such as yourself, like, so what would you like to work on? And then people would answer, and it turns out that after years of doing this, I went back and listened to things, and for the most part, the majority of times, designers manifest what it is that they wanted to be working on verbally.
Really?
It happens. Be it a hotel, be it a restaurant.
Oh my goodness.
It happens.
Okay.
So manifest design.
Okay.
What are some projects that you would absolutely love to work on?
Oh, wow.
What's on the list?
Okay. It would be, let's see, really cool to do. I know this is kind of strange to say because of what we're doing with like the family multi-generational, a family compound, out in Texas where it's developed the main house and then the smaller houses for family to come and stay. And it just becomes like this family compound that it's beautifully designed. And I know it's so funny. That's probably, if you would have asked me that question maybe like 2 years ago, I would have answered completely differently. But I feel like that's where we're going. People want to be around their family and creating those spaces where everyone has their individual space, but then they can come together, or just multiple properties on a large lot of land. I can maybe see that in the future. So,
Manifest design, family compound.
yeah.
Okay, got you down.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Alina Walhart. I'm from Wolf and Sheep Design. We're based in Boston and Los Angeles. And nice to meet you.
Which came first, Boston or Los Angeles?
Boston.
Okay, so when did you start? When did you launch your company?
2015 yeah.
Okay. In Boston, and then when did you add LA to the mix?
Probably about 5 years ago at this point.
What is the difference in design philosophy between Boston and LA?
I think the Boston clients are more conservative in many ways. And I think there's far and few between contemporary designers out there. So I was able to find a niche on the East Coast, in Boston in particularly, because I'm more of a contemporary designer, and clients often told me that it's hard to find more of a modern designer. I think clients in LA are a little more lavish, or a little more maybe flashy could be a word that I can use.
What do you think the origin of that is? Where do you think that comes from?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I explore it because something I heard the other day, and that's why I'm excited to be talking to you about this. Boston, LA. I get New York, LA a lot. Mm-hmm. I get Texas, LA a lot. I get LA, San Francisco, LA, Seattle. I get Miami, LA, Miami, New York. And I get it. But here's what I was having a conversation with a friend, non-American, non-North American. Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting. You talk to European designers or Asian designers or anyone else who's not from North America, doesn't spend a lot of time here, specifically in the US. And what they don't understand is they think US is one market. It's not.
Yeah.
Every state is different. Every region is different. Every region within a state is different. Every region within a city. LA is not one city. It's 43 boroughs.
Yeah.
So when you think about your philosophy and your approach to the work, when you added LA, what surprised you most, and how has that changed the narrative for you?
Well, so I'm from Japan. So, I'm not American. And so even like coming from that perspective, I'm half Japanese, half Danish. I grew up in Japan. And so coming from like a Asian sort of background and philosophy, especially in Japan where, it's very minimal and everything is sort of intentional. I do feel like I was able to find clients on both coasts that really appreciated that intention versus, I think clients not necessarily looking for just a contemporary designer, but a designer that can sort of help them come from a more of like a practical and purposeful approach, if that makes sense.
It does. And I'm curious too, Japanese, Danish, culturally speaking, both are multi-generational as far as cultural living.
Yes.
So interesting, because here in the States we're not, but I feel like we're going there. Have you seen that, and how does that affect, again, the manner in which you design?
I have seen that, and I've seen a lot of sort of families buying bigger lots so that they can build um, multiple houses within a property.
Compounds.
Compounds, yeah.
Okay.
So obviously in Japan, you don't have that kind of real estate.
Well, you
So
do when
it's
you get to the countryside, but not in the city.
not in the city, but
Yeah.
even so in the countryside, not, that's less common. Versus here, I've seen more of that approach where clients are buying these large lots in hopes that they can build a house one day for their kids and their grandkids, and it can become like a multi-generational family compound. So I've seen that here.
Does your cultural background find its way into your work?
Definitely.
How so?
Yes. Well, I think, and also I've been seeing a lot of this more so here, where the wet area bathroom, like the bathroom is a big, part of, I think, Asian design, where we keep the wet area contained. So there's like a tub within enclosure of a glass, and like the tub and the shower is in the same sort of wet area. I'm also really trying to enforce a proper entrance so that there's like a real entryway where you are forced to take your shoes off.
Oh, interesting. Okay. You know what's funny? So as a kid growing up in the San Fernando Valley, as a teenager in the 1980s, I remember that like late 70s, early 80s, that became a thing.
Okay.
And
What
then-
was the thing?
taking your shoes off
Oh.
before entering the home.
Okay.
And I don't know where it came from at the time, but it was like a thing. And then it went away. And then, living at the beach, we always did that, but that was sand. So it's a different vibe. But I find that interesting because culturally speaking, I love when there's a culture smash, like when elements from other cultures, for example, steam and sauna
Yeah.
is now starting to get bigger and bigger and bigger. It's getting louder. The narrative
Yeah.
is getting louder here in the States, and it took a while for that to get here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just I don't know. I have no idea where I was going with that, but I think it's interesting because I find it fascinating to have the benefit of a cultural background that is non-American,
Yeah.
because a lot of those things are now being incorporated into the work.
So, obviously, like changing the material at the entrance is a really easy way to accomplish that. And obviously, that can be, that's already common here, right? Like in the mudroom, you do tile and that kind of stuff. But what I really like is like a sunken entryway where the entry area is on a different floor level as the rest of the house, because that really designates a proper entrance. And that's like a very, I think, Japanese thing. And then obviously I'm enforcing bidets left and right.
The toilet has
The toilet.
been, and I differentiate toilet from bidet because the all-in-one, is it an all? We'll call it an all-in-one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, holy moly! One piece of equipment in a home that has changed that drastically as the toilet over the last probably 5 years here in the States is just, and I think the Japanese manufacturers have been doing that for decades.
Yeah.
And a bidet is standard in a European bathroom for generations.
Yes.
It's amazing to me sometimes how long it takes things to get here.
Yes. And it's still, even if a lot of clients are definitely more interested in those things. and incorporating it into their everyday, like all their bathrooms. But it's still not like a, you know, like a immediate thing. It's like, oh yeah, like they'll think about it and be like, okay, like we'll add it. But it's, to them, it doesn't come naturally.
So how do you push your more traditional Boston clients to think more progressive like your Angelino clients? Or do you?
I feel like I been very lucky, and I feel like the clients out there seek out someone, you know, when they are looking for something that is non-traditional. Their mind is already not so, I guess, conservative. And, you know, I've been seeing a lot more younger younger professional families with little kids who are, you know, seeking out interior design help, and is already looking and understands sort of the value that we bring. So I feel like my clients are also getting younger. Whereas when I started, you know, 10 years ago, the clientele that could afford or understood the value in our services was a little older.
Well, and it's interesting too, because that whole idea that, you know, 1% of the population utilizes the services of a designer or architect, I believe that has been the standard for, I mean, that's kind of like the idea for a long time, but I believe that that's really beginning to change. You know, another thing that you can sort of credit or blame social media for, because that's kind of the thing, but it's fascinating to me, and I think it kind of opens it up to new generations as new generations of individuals utilize the talents of skilled designers or skilled architects. They start to realize what the potential is, and it's amazing.
Yeah, and I think, like, I've also had clients who've made costly mistakes and was like, oh, okay, it is a luxury service, but I think, like, in the end, you know, I sort of help hopefully, like, not make, you know, help them not make these costly mistakes. And so, especially those clients are extremely appreciative of the services and insight that we can provide.
Totally. Okay, last question I have for you, and I love this. It started a few years ago. I'm calling this manifest design. So I have learned, after years and years of doing this, that I'll ask clients, I'll ask designers, what's a client for you? What is a project for you that you have never done but always wanted to? And someone would be like, oh, I've always wanted a hotel, or I've wanted a family compound, or I've wanted a boutique hotel, or I've wanted an Airbnb, or a yacht, or an airplane, a G5, whatever. And over the years, I've noticed more and more that it's starting to come true. Like I'll circle back with them, and they're like, hey, guess what? I did my first hotel, or I did my first G5, or whatever. So what is a project you've never done that you would absolutely love to do, that you would love to add to your work?
Boutique hotel.
Boutique hotel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do multi-unit residential developments. So I feel like in a way it's very similar to that, but we can really, you know, like sort of go nuts, right? When it becomes something that is less sort of personal.
Yeah.
You can really like add the flair and like, you know, do some fun with it. So I would love the opportunity to be able to do a boutique hotel one day.
Okay. I got you down. Do me a favor. When you do.
Yes, I will email you, call you ASAP.
and we'll talk about it when you're done.
Yes.
You are listening to conversations from the Spring Day of Design at Design Hardware in Los Angeles. We'll be right back. Man, I love this. I have a new sponsor partner on the show that I want to introduce you to if you're not already familiar with them. If you are a specifying designer, architect, landscape architect, or savvy design enthusiast, if you have heard about the quiet luxury movement, this idea of crafting a lifestyle around understated elegance, simplicity, and sophistication, there's more to it than that. And I will add uncomplicated living. Isn't that what we all strive for? I am extremely happy. I'm really thrilled to share a company that embodies all of this, utilizing proprietary technology and a focus on sustainability in their stunningly beautiful products. It's TimberTech. TimberTech is the premium decking company delivering multitonal, color blending, and natural wood textures in a product that is virtually indistinguishable from a natural wood product. What does this mean? It means it's everything wood should be. A beautiful look that blends seamlessly with a well-designed space, providing years of enjoyment and performs the way you want it to. No splintering, fading, peeling, cracking, or rotting. I had a wood deck at our Manhattan Beach home, and I gotta tell you, it was exasperating every year doing the random board flip, taking out nails, resetting them, restaining them. It was a complete pain. It was complicated, and I didn't look forward to it. I wish I had TimberTech, because TimberTech is not only uncomplicated, it's beautiful. It comes in over 20 finish options and 9 collections, and 85% of the material is recycled. This is premium decking for your next project. Learn more and specify it for your next design project. TimberTech on the socials or timbertech.com, where you can find a retailer near you, as well as a number of tools to create, design, order samples, and get the expert help you may need. TimberTech is uncomplicated luxury and performs. It's your choice for your next deck project.
Hi, my name is Susie Novak, Susie Novak Interiors. I'm based in Oakland, California, and we specialize in residential interior design.
How'd you get started? How did you know you wanted to do this for a living?
I didn't for a long time. I was always creative, and I worked in the art world for 10 years. And then we moved my now husband, then boyfriend, from New York to the Bay Area. And we did a loft. We moved into a warehouse that we converted into a loft space, and that sparked my interest in design. I felt that working in design, I could work with color and space much more than I was doing in the art world, because I was working for a gallery and really doing kind of like the back of house stuff, like marketing and sales and administration to sell art. And I really missed actually thinking about space and color, which is what I did in art school.
Art school?
Yeah. I went to a liberal arts school, but I majored in fine art.
Okay.
Yeah.
How does that education in fine art inform the manner in which you design?
It's pretty significant, one in the more literal sense, in that I actually have the ability to curate collections for my clients because I have a lot of access to the art world. And in the other sense, just knowing a lot about color, understanding space. I was really initially inspired by kind of, the Bauhaus movement in Mondrian, and really had that initial approach to modern art, and then into modern design and kind of like the warehouse loft type spaces. And then I moved into a Tudor style home and developed an appreciation for traditional design, but used my experience with color that I learned from the art world and applied that into these spaces. So that are much more like livable and approachable and like varied in terms of style.
From Bauhaus to traditional.
Yes, pretty much. It's, yeah.
It's interesting too, because I have found in conversations with designers in particular, many are reticent, apprehensive to get into the art side of the business. Many will tell their clients, hey, you know what, let's get you an art rep, let's get you an art advisor,
right,
to select the artwork. Or if they've got a collection already, that they'll design the remainder of the home or whatever the project is around the existing collection. I think that designers, I don't want to overgeneralize, but I think that there's an apprehension to get into art because it is so complex and expensive.
Yeah. it's a very vast world, and it's also very personal in terms of like the client's personal collection. I want to bring in select pieces from their personal collection into the design, but that's the thing about art being design, is that you want the whole room to tell a story, and you want it all to make sense, and you want it all to be relevant, and art is really truly the finishing touch. I mean, I feel like once we put the art up, it's like, oh my god, the room is finished. It's like the cherry on top, it's the icing on the cake, it's the candles on the birthday cake. It's so important to the overall space. Nevertheless, it has to be meaningful. So we will work with clients and ask them, about artists that they've found on their own. We really get to know their style throughout the whole design process, and then we can select art sort of at the end. So if you're in a relationship with a client and you're doing a whole house, it's a year, it's 2 years, it's 3 years. At that point, you have a pretty strong sense of what they would like, and so you can fire off, some like links to artists and galleries along the way, and find the right piece for the right room.
Do you find yourself working more in San Francisco or in Oakland?
It's funny, we were working like all over the Bay for a while, and now we're really largely in like Oakland, Piedmont, Berkeley. Yeah.
Are you not absolutely amazed at how that area is blowing up?
I'm totally amazed. I grew up in Seattle. It's a very similar growth and like development process. I mean, when I moved to Oakland, there was actually one restaurant, and I moved from New York City, and there were some teary-eyed evenings of what did I do? Why am I here? But Oakland has an amazing energy. It has an amazing history. I'm very passionate about Oakland as a place, and I only know so much about its history, but it's got so much character, so much soul, and I really saw it blossom from when I moved there in 2007 to about a couple years ago. Many restaurants opened up, many great small businesses, a lot of people. There's so much amazing like historical architecture there. There's an incredible diverse community of people. It's really a fun, fascinating, beautiful place. Unfortunately, the pandemic took a bit of a toll, and like the last couple of years hasn't been so great. But nevertheless, the community is not taking kind of like the hangover from the pandemic as an excuse or a proper place to live, and everyone is just like so active in the East Bay. So if crime gets out of hand, we're not going to have it, and people are really kind of banging on the mayor's door and letting him know that we're not going to tolerate it. So
I think that the Oakland area is very much like Brooklyn, and what happened with Dumbo, and how Dumbo kind of informed the remainder of Brooklyn to sort of, how everything kind of came together in that particular environment. I find that, and the restaurants and the places to go, and I find that very similar.
Totally.
That being said, I think there are also, and I kind of want to explore for a minute, the differences in what a designer has to do. Look, Oakland is not an incredibly safe place. Oakland never was an incredibly safe place. And the pandemic did not help that situation.
No.
When you design, and especially you're designing for art, and there's materials of exceptional value. Do you find yourself looking more at ways to design for safety and security? Do you find yourself looking at ways that are not necessarily in the finishings or soft goods, but how to insulate your clients from neighborhood? Because sometimes, as you want to be part of a community and a neighborhood, you also have to protect oneself. Home is the cocoon. Home is a safe place, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we like window treatments, so that helps. And I think, the thing about crime is that, something my husband always says, he's like, criminals are opportunists. It's like if you leave your golf clubs in the backseat of a car, like someone's going to smash the window and take them. So rather than like losing your mind over it and being stressed out all the time, it's like just do kind of the basic stuff, like add the security lights outside of your house, lock your doors, get some nice beautiful window treatments that we will happily customize and procure for you and make them beautiful, and create a beautiful, like, happy home. And just if you just do those basic things, like don't leave stuff in your car and don't leave, an iPad like on a entry console table, kind of thing. Don't make it easy. You'll be fine,
Do you find that your region where you primarily work is developing a style?
I find, I think a lot of our clients come to us because we do have that like initial like modern sensibility, but we also love the warmth and coziness of like a classic home. And we love the traditional architecture of the city. So I find that people are coming to us for that sort of like French atelier kind of vibe where it's like the gorgeous classic architecture, but we're going to bring in some like awesome like mid-century modern pieces or organic modern pieces or like bohemian modern kind of stuff, and like we're going to mix it up, but it's all going to make sense and look great. It's, I don't know, it's urban living. So yeah.
And I find it interesting because, San Francisco for decades became defined by the painted ladies. It was just like you had the bridge, you got the painted ladies, you've got the what's the tower, and you've got the
Coit Tower.
Coit Tower.
Yes.
But at the same time, as you really get into it, I feel like, look, I love designers and I love architects and I love what you do.
Yeah.
And because of that, I feel like there is an inherent skill on behalf of a creative like that to take what the environment provides you with and then to use that to mold, because ultimately the design and architecture becomes the community and the community shines back on that. And I think people move to an area like that because of what it is and what it represents.
Yeah, 100%.
And so as a designer, I feel like that's a tremendous opportunity to explore what you like, what what you're told are the desires of your clients, and then be able to turn that around and provide them with something that hasn't been done before, even though it may be reminiscent of something else.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that, place is so influential in terms of design. That's essentially like what it is, But I find that like a fascinating topic in terms of, we ask our clients like where they've traveled to that inspire them, like from aesthetic point of view in terms of how they want to do their home. And then the Bay Area in particular, we're dealing with like a lot of tech clients. It's a more relaxed culture, and people come to the Bay Area for that reason. It's kind of like unexpected luxury. I don't know. It's just people don't. It's more relaxed. It's not showy, and we want to bring that sense of beautiful, inspired, personal, but warm and inviting. It's a home. So
what are your clients asking you for now that maybe they weren't asking for 5 years ago?
Oh my gosh, asking for now. I think that we do like a lot of super customized pieces. Definitely like more quality, higher end stuff as like I've grown as a designer. People really want to invest in their spaces, and I think that goes into sustainability is having something that's quality, that's going to hold up to the test of time, and that's not going to fall apart in like a few years. So,
not going to fall apart in a few years.
Hopefully,
that's a good thing.
Yes. It's kind of simple, but yeah, that's what they're coming to us for a lot of times. And obviously something beautiful. So we just have so many resources that they don't have the access to that we do. So.
I love it. You're listening to Conversations from the Spring Day of Design at Design Hardware, and we'll be right back. As a busy professional designer, you know how important it is to find the right partnerships. Partnerships that allow you to specify the right products for every project. Professionals like you don't just have time to sit around and waste, right? So let me tell you about one of my partnerships. Pacific Sales is here to serve you with expert, knowledgeable, and non-commissioned professionals to help you specify the right product for all your projects. Non-commissioned. That means their only incentive is your satisfaction. Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home, a Best Buy company, has just that, with over 60 years of service in Southern California. Pacific Sales is your destination for exploration, advice, and inspiration. And you will find all your favorite brands, like Monogram, and their commitment to providing exceptional products, starting with materials. Monogram sources commercial-grade stainless steel on their refrigerators, unscratchable sapphire glass on their cooktop knobs, durable marine-grade bearings on their dishwasher racks. Monogram takes inspiration from the leading-edge materials used in the high-end automotive and aeronautics industry to provide you with lasting beauty and exceptional quality. The beauty is backed by the same level of attention to performance, which is why Monogram appliances are trusted and sought after by chefs all over the country. Chain-driven French oven doors that can be opened with one hand, and an industry-exclusive hearth oven that allows for all-electric indoor brick oven-style cooking without the need for external ventilation. These are just a few of the things that make Monogram so special. Pacific Sales features Monogram appliances, and Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home team is here to help you and offer their Pro Rewards program, which is a trade program unlike any you have experienced before. And here's the cherry on top: access. Access to exclusive builder trade incentives from top brands like Monogram. Visit a Pacific Sales showroom today to learn how you can unlock additional savings and benefits. Don't miss out on the opportunity to work with the best of the best. Visit Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home today and elevate your projects to new heights. Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home, where excellence meets expertise.
Hi, I'm Mary Patton, owner and principal of Mary Patton Design, based in Houston, Texas.
And I love this too. I love my Texas designers. So Texas is one of those places which used to be what I would call a design flyover state. Probably maybe 8 years ago, 7 years ago is when Texas started getting on the board for the design work. And then all of a sudden the pandemic happens and it's like everyone's there. And once this influx of outsiders came into Texas, Texas has always been one of those states where people go and they're surprised by what they find. When did you start? How did you get started as a designer, and why?
So I am actually from Texas originally. I grew up in Houston and did not think that I would end up there as an adult. After college, I moved to New York to go to design school, and then quickly learned that I was very cold and homesick. So after living there for a few years, I moved back to Houston. Then probably 6 years later, after I had my daughter, I couldn't travel for work anymore. I wanted to be close to her, and so I just said that I was available as a decorator to my friends. So I started out charging $75 an hour and making pillows for friends of mine. And that was 10 years ago, and it's evolved over time for sure. But I think that interior design is a creative field that you can be taken seriously in, based in Texas.
Now,
but I mean, definitely more so than, there's really not much of a fashion industry in Texas. So and certainly now it's more so that way.
what made you go in that direction? What was the pull?
So really it's the only creative outlet that you can be taken seriously in.
No.
It was 10 years ago, I felt.
Well, look, I mean, there's fashion.
Well, not in Houston, Texas, there is not a booming fashion industry.
And that's the other part of this. Okay, so in Austin, you've got the musical center of Texas, and in Dallas, you've got the fashion and arts for the most part.
Right.
It's interesting because I think people don't really realize that. I was surprised a few years ago. On Convo By Design, I started Lone Star House of Design, which was just focusing on Texas designers.
Okay.
Because I lived in Dallas for 9 years, and I was surprised. And my wife's family is from Houston, and I was just surprised at the level of creativity in the state of Texas. And I think most people have never seen that, and they're really starting to now. And I think that's really cool. But I think creativity in a serious way, has always been part of the Texas culture.
Oh yeah, I think that's right, and that the arts are really supported by all of the great universities there. I actually went to college in Dallas and went there because the Meadow School at SMU is so great. Yeah.
Love that neighborhood. Highland Park is amazing.
It's beautiful, yeah. But I think, one of the benefits of social media is that it has given people, there's not a real entertainment industry in Texas, and so it has given, more of a platform and an audience to people in other states to realize that there is very good talent there.
Have you been to Round Top?
Yes.
For those who have not been to Round Top, is one of those. It's like one of the greatest, most beloved events, happenings in the design industry. For those who have been there, for those who haven't, tell them about Round Top.
So my family has a house there, and so I've gone, for a long time, and seen a complete transformation of the show and of the people coming. I mean, that it's, 7 years ago, the local restaurants would run out of food on like the first night because they were just totally not available for all of these outsiders coming into town. And I think that Round Top used to be a really good source for finding really good deals on vintage pieces, and now the pricing is really more retail, but the experience is pretty incredible, and to have that concentration and volume of really cool stuff in one space is really neat.
Have you been to Marfa?
Yes.
I love Marfa, Texas. It's so odd.
It's so weird,
right? Because you've got all the Donald Judd influence, and then you've got this exterior from the movie Giant back in 1956 in this huge Beaux Arts city hall. It's weird and it's wonderful.
I've only been there once. My husband's from Northern California, and we drive every summer to take our dogs. And a couple years ago, we stopped in Marfa to spend the night, and it's like one strip of stores, and we stayed at whatever the nicest hotel there is in the wrapper.
El Paradiso? Mm-hmm. Yep.
And, what is his name? Machine Gun Kelly was staying in the hotel. And it's just, yes, it's very weird, but cool. Yeah, that kind of extreme West Texas landscape, I think, is really beautiful.
What's the industry like in Houston? Is it a tight-knit design community?
Houston is kind of a large, small town. I think everybody knows everyone. I think that all of the designers are extremely busy and kind of just focused on what they're doing in their work. So, I mean, it's tight-knit in the sense that you know everybody, but I don't think that there's a ton of overlap.
There are some cities that have this really amazing tight-knit group. I think Boston is one of the ones I can think of. Chicago's another. Orange County, California, incredible. The designers all work really, really well together. I think it's fascinating. I think it's really cool. How has it changed for you, though? Here's what I find really interesting. When I talk to designers who have worked primarily here in Southern California, there's one vibe, there's one feeling that I get from them in a post-pandemic environment. But because Texas really never stopped, now things were still hard to get. Mm-hmm. There was still supply chain issues and logistics and cost, and I get it. But there was also all of these new clients who were flooding into the state, and all of this design happening. I think many people don't realize what happened in LA, New York, San Francisco, Chicago. A lot of that didn't really happen to the same degree in Texas.
No, I mean, for myself and all of my friends that are builders and designers, our businesses exploded during that time. But it was interesting. Yesterday I went to a lecture, and they were talking about kind of ebbs and flow of income here, and that because it is so kind of entertainment industry focused, that people will get a huge influx of cash, or they may not be able to spend money for a while, to where we have the oil and gas industry that's pretty consistent. So the majority of my clients during COVID were women executives that were stuck in their houses. And we're just like, I normally go to Europe in the summer. This year we're going to spend that money to redo our kitchen. And then after we finished their house, then a lot of them bought ranches or beach houses that were in driving distance of just sort of this, how do you operate in a new normal, to where you kind of need to be able to drive to where you're going to go on vacation.
And then you got those properties to do.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was great. Yes, so it was yes, and we figured it out. There was, at one point, the entire state ran out of paint. The supply issues were a problem, but people were very, grateful to have the work done at their houses.
Now, here's something that I talked to all of my design friends from Texas about. Your electrical grid is an absolute mess.
Yes.
at a time when electrification of the industry is not beginning, we're mid-ramp. I mean, we're ramping up because, EVs, although there's a slight downtrend in electric vehicles are still, they're going to be here to stay, and that's going to be part of induction. Induction is going, I know you come from an oil and gas state, but induction is gaining in more popularity for a lot of different reasons, and because there are more appliances available to someone. Do you do a lot of kitchens?
I do, yes.
Because you have so many options now, so many things between refrigeration drawers, ranges, ovens, heating, warming drawers, I mean, there's so much now. How do you approach the balance between electrification and more electrified products in a kitchen weighed against, here's how much the generator can pull should there be an issue? You have to start doing more math and getting more involved in things that maybe you didn't do before. Do you do that, or do you stay away from that?
Well, I think really after that awful freeze that we had, we put in a lot of generators. So I would say that's really the only thing that's kind of changed. I mean, I generally will put a gas range in someone's kitchen if we're redoing it. So convection has not been something that I've done or personally seen a shift in yet, but that's, we're also kind of behind environmental times a little bit.
Yeah, but it's also same concept, different angle. What you're capable of doing in a kitchen now is nothing short of remarkable.
For sure, yeah.
And I would imagine, too, that the client base that you have to work with is asking for all the bells and whistles, all the new toys, all that full experience.
So the past few kitchens I've done, really they haven't. So something that I try to push is for people to have 4 ovens, get a range that has 2, and then 2 electrical wall ovens. Even if you just make Thanksgiving once a year, it's amazing to have that. But haven't done anything like really, really inventive as far as like new technology. And I do also like the concept of like an old dumb house to where it's not overly technological.
Yeah, but again, it's not your choice.
Right.
No,
but for sure.
But that's the thing, and that's kind of like the heart of my conversations with exceptional designers and architects. Architects not so much, because architects, it kind of is their choice. They're putting the bones and the structure together so they can kind of dictate a little bit more. Designers, you have to deal with the environment that you're given.
For sure.
And you have a lot of choices, but if a client says, I want a dirty kitchen and back, and then I want a kitchen for show, and I want a scullery and a butler's pantry and a coffee bar, and it can get ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it can, but I think we're also really lucky that we have so many amazing resources and showrooms and people that can guide you, because a lot of that I don't know, but turn it over to the expert.
How are the showrooms in Houston?
They're great.
Yeah?
Yeah, no, there's a really good presence of kind of anything that you would need vendor-wise.
I love that. Okay, so last question for you,
Okay.
and it's one that I've been asking for a while now. I noticed that a couple of years ago, I was talking to some designers, and I what had come up was, I said, we're gonna do this right now. What is a project you've never worked on that you want to? And it would come out a hotel, a plane, a boat, and it started happening. And then they would come back when I talked to them next time. It's like, yeah, remember we were talking about that boutique hotel? Well, I actually got it, and here's what it is. And it's amazing. So manifest design.
Oh yeah, it's real.
What is something that you have never done that you really want to do?
I don't know. 'Cause I am really good at manifesting. I need to think about it.
What's the first thing that comes to mind?
I think it'd be really fun to do an apartment in New York. I think that would be a challenge in a lot of ways, but very rewarding and interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. So listen. If you're listening to this episode, go to the show notes and click on the link to her work and go see what she's done. And if you have an apartment in New York, She's your designer.
Yeah, and I do have a design assistant that lives there, so
Mary
we're
Pat-
technically local.
Mary Patton. She will send her assistant to come.
Annie Laurie, she'll come by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay.
Okay.
Done.
All right, we'll see. Yeah.
Thank you.
Design Hardware's newly remodeled showroom is where you will find a gallery-style space with a thoughtful display of products, purposefully positioned to allow unbridled exploration and discovery. High-end faucets, luxury tile, natural stone, wood floors, and bespoke hardware selections are presented in a holistic manner, strategically arranged to stimulate creativity and transition your vision from the conceptual stage to a fully realized space. Conveniently located, free parking available. Stop by to find your inspiration. Collect samples, get expert advice, and tackle everything on your shopping list all in one place. Visit them online at designhardware.com or in the real world, 6053 West 3rd Street in Los Angeles.
So much fun, right? Thank you, Lauren, Amy, Leticia, Alina, Mary, Susie. It was not my intent, but this turned out to be an amazing showcase of women designers who are setting the tone for the next phase of our design renaissance. Thank you for taking the time to share your story. I enjoyed our conversation and cannot wait to see what you do next. Thank you to my partner sponsors, Thermosol, Pacific Sales, TimberTech, Monogram, and Design Hardware. These partners are amazing companies, all of whom have made a concerted effort to support the design community through education, events, incentives, exposure, and media. Not to mention a collection of extraordinary products and services to match. Check the show notes for links to each of them so you can see firsthand how they can make your design business thrive and your projects exceed the expectations of your clients. Thank you for listening, downloading, subscribing, and sharing the show with your friends and colleagues who you think might enjoy it. Thank you for your emails, show suggestions, and guest suggestions. Please keep them coming. Convo by Design at Outlook.com and on Instagram at Convo by Design with an X. Until the next episode, be well and take today first.